Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm really pleased John did that sort of getting up and meeting people thing, because I was actually going to get you up high-fiving and hugging each other and stuff, so get away with that, but there will be a little bit of participation. So, how much out of your comfort zone was it when you sort of had to go and meet new people? Did anyone feel slightly uncomfortable? Is everyone good? If I asked you all to hug the person next to you, and tell them you love them, how uncomfortable would you feel? It's good, because getting out of your comfort zone is something we all have to do in business, and pricing is one of those things. There's a lot of mindset attached to it, and when we're doing stuff with pricing, we sort of talk ourselves out of things. So. I'll do a little bit of story, and then hopefully I'll do some practical stuff that you'll be able to take away. I'll explain why you're not charging enough, generally due to mindset, I think, and what to do about it. Spoiler alert, it involves 80-20. Interestingly, I noticed you paused when you said the 80-20 guy. The old font that my logo was printed with looked very much like the 80-20 gay. So, we got that changed. Anyway.
It didn't cross my mind.
What's life and growth about? Awareness. We all build our awareness. And then, as we become aware of stuff, it then takes commitment. So we become aware of a problem in our life. We then commit to solving that problem. Who's had a flash of the bleeding obvious in the last sort of month, when they've suddenly gone, oh, amazing, I can't believe it. No one had a flash of the bleeding. Yeah. Thank you, there will be participation. We all have these flashes of the bleeding obvious, don't we? And sometimes we just let them go, and other times we go, we've got to take action on that right now. So it's about commitment. Probably the first step we take in our journey of raising our awareness and committing is when we learn to walk. As shown by one of the cheesiest stock photos in the world. I'm actually fun. It's not the cheesiest, this is the cheesiest stock photo. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, back to the story. So, when we're a child, we suddenly become aware that we don't have to move around by shuffling around our home and crawling and stuff. Oh, we can get around quicker, we can reach high shelves and take down the domestos and drink it, all things like that.
Each to his own.
And if you look at the commitment of a child, they keep on falling over, but they know it's worth doing this stuff. So that's kind of the story that's going to go through this, just that awareness and commitment. What about me? What have I done? I used to make these. Very, very geeky stuff. I'm a computer scientist by training. Didn't like people. Used to lock myself in the bedroom until I was 30 actually, but doing computer stuff. And an awareness came to me at one point, and this is kind of about values and things, because the awareness came while I was making these, that they couldn't tell us what we were making them for. It's basically a digital signal processing board, and they weren't allowed to tell us what they're used for, but they did have to be able to travel at 500 miles an hour, to track the ground, and they only had to work once. I also can't tell you what they were used for, but I drew my own conclusions, and it was against my values, so I moved on. I then went to work making these things work. Not the people, making TV stations work. And moved on then into live audio. Don't know if anyone saw the Sydney Olympics in 2000, watched Kylie singing her little heart out. Well, every bit of her voice went through a bit of my software. And that software was fascinating, because you have 1/48,000th of a second to deal with that little bit of her voice. And then it's gone forever. And then the next bit of voice comes in, and you have 1/48,000th of a second to deal with that bit of voice. And the thing that I built was connected straight up to the speakers. And this is like 500 kilowatts of speaker. So if I messed up, a lot of people found out about it very, very quickly. And that's kind of what I've always done. The wealth dynamics profile is very, very interesting. I actually sit in the accumulator end, which is quite rare in this country, I believe, and it's quite rare for entrepreneurs. But it means I love data and I love getting into the nitty-gritty of things. So I support the creators very well because they just come up with wacky ideas. I have one client who's pure creator, comes to me with 20 ideas, and we pick through the 2 that might actually be worth doing, and then putting a plan in place to get them done. Anyway, I moved back to here, and then my entire life changed. 27th of November 2008. Drove my motorbike into work, got off it, went in. I was a little bit late, about 9:30 I got in. No, about 9:28 actually. And at 9:30 the boss came in. He said, "Oh, come and see you in my office." And 2 minutes later, packed a bag and I was out. It was just at the start of the recession, so made redundant. And what happened there was my awareness switched. As I rode my motorbike away from that office that day, I realised I was free. And actually, I probably never had to go into an office ever again if I didn't want to. Woohoo! I had no idea what I was doing, but one of my friends who was made redundant on the same day, actually, he got in touch the next day. He said, "Oh, do you want to meet up for lunch?" I said, "I can't. I'm printing business cards. I own a camera, so I'm going to take photos. And I've no idea what I'm doing, so I'll just make a price list and I'll offer my stuff." And I actually keep this price list around as a lesson in what not to do in business. Because I had such a low awareness about business and how to do things like that. So, prints, 6x4, 50p for the first 4 prints, 10 pence per print thereafter. Anyone know a photographer who charges 10 pence per print? No, it wasn't long before I wasn't charging 10 pence per print. But and this isn't where I doubled my revenue from, by the way. This is I didn't double 6
20
pounds
big.
to 12. But I've made the mistake of using pricing strategy 101, which so many business owners, even when they've been in business 10 years, I still find people who followed pricing strategy 101. Anyone know what step 1 of pricing strategy 101 is?
Yeah.
Make it up. And remember how easy it is. So I was chatting with Hayden before the event today, and he told me about what he does. I don't know if anyone else has chatted with him. What he does is he tells people to turn their light bulbs off. Now, that is the simplest thing that you do. It's much more complicated, it's much more valuable. Saves companies millions and millions of pounds, does it not? Yes. It does. But essentially you're telling people to turn their light bulbs off. Now, Hayden knows that's easy. And so he might say, well, in order to tell someone to turn a light bulb off, I can charge them £1. But what's the value in telling people to turn light bulbs off? Finding the people who need to turn light bulbs off. So making up, when you remember how easy it is, remember it's not necessarily easy for the other people. Another method in pricing strategy 101 is to look around you. What's everyone else doing? Oh, they're charging this and they're charging this. I think I'll just make myself a bit cheaper. Great idea. And then they go cheaper and you end up like supermarkets and you're in massive trouble. 95% of the people in the world are wrong about almost everything they're doing in their business. We know that because 5% of businesses really succeed. Probably around 60% of businesses sort of ticking over and a bunch of businesses struggling. If only 5% of businesses are really growing, thriving and succeeding, that does mean 95% are wrong. A great strategy, if you don't know what to do, is look around you at all the other businesses and don't do that. Yes. Pricing strategy 101, number 3. Discount your prices to get the business. And the best time to do this is before your client has even asked you to put it down. You get scared. You go, oh, I can't charge that because it's so easy. And I've looked around at what everyone else is charging. I've got to under. You just get in this mess. And then, once you've discounted your price, it's almost guaranteed that you will resent doing the work. This is brilliant. Go and talk to a tradesman. They love doing this. Oh, I put my quote out there. I knocked 20% off to get the business before they ever objected to my pricing. and now I'm doing all this work for them. It's terrible. So, that really is pricing strategy 101. Number 3, discounting to get business is really not a good idea. What are we going to do about this? I think there was a spoiler alert earlier. Who's aware of the 80-20 principle? That's good. I knew this was a good room. Well, great room.
Was it more than 80% of us?
It's about 50%. That's good. Hands up who's heard of the 80-20 principle and knows about it? Sorry, just yeah. Keep your hand up if you're regularly doing something about it in your business. Oh, that's the 20% of the 20%. So, for those who aren't aware of it, a chap in Italy around the turn of the last century now, Vilfredo Pareto, who noticed that 80% of the land was owned by 20% of the people. He also noticed that 80% of the peas grow in 20% of the pods. He looked into it more and discovered that there's this basically universal principle. I know there's not a lot of time to go into it today. There's bags of data. There's a book by a guy called Richard Koch, which is this thick, all about the principle. Very heavy reading. Worth it if you want to get in the nitty-gritty. My book's about that thick and takes 20 minutes to get through. So if you want the conversation starter, go for mine. The beauty of the 80-20 principle, so that 80% of results comes from 20% of your efforts. It's also a fractal, which means that in that top 20%, there's another 80-20, which means that 64% of your results come from 4% of your efforts. There's another 80-20 in there. 50% of your results come from 1% of your efforts. Where have we heard about 1% having 50% of the results? Stuff. The financial thing. Oh, the 1%, oh, they're terrible people. It's awful. No, it's not awful. It's a natural law. It will always happen. If they start getting 80%, it will self-balance. If you take all the wealth off them and give it to other people, it will rebalance. 1% will end up with 50% of the wealth. The problem with this is flat earth thinking. I like to think of it as flat earth thinking. And the flat earth thinking is that things are average. Now, if you wanted to make, let's say, £5,000 from 40 customers, what are you going to go out there into the marketplace with? You're going to go with a product that's £125 because that's an average. So if we sell 40 at £125, we've got £5,000. But that really is flat earth thinking. It's not taking into account the natural law. When you fight against the natural law, this stuff won't work. I'm the 80-20 guy. I was doing this in my business until embarrassingly recently. The 80-20 curve looks like this. There's a large low end and a few real winners at the other end. If you want your £5,000 from 40 people, the lowest product you're going to put out there is £38. The highest product you're going to put out there is £928. Someone in that crowd has £928 to pay you for that product. Let's look at a real practical example of the 80-20 curve in action. Socks. Anyone here wear socks? That's good. 47 pence for 5 pairs of socks. Can you believe that? Do you think they're good quality socks? Let's look at some Amazon reviews. Very poor quality. I like the way that the headline of both of these reviews is 1 star. They give it 1 star and then say 1 star, just in case you didn't notice. The other one says, load of rubbish, I use them as rags. Not quite sure what they were expecting, to be fair. 5 pence for 47 pence. Let's slide up the curve. 1 pair of socks, £4.95. These are getting into decent socks. These are probably a splendid pair of socks. What are the most expensive socks available in the UK today? Trevor can't answer this because I think you were at my event when I gave the answer last time.
Yes.
Anyone know what the most expensive pair of socks available
what it was.
in the UK?
I'm going to guess at £49.
Oh, that's a bit high, isn't it?
Is it?
No, a couple of £100 high.
A couple of hundred?
Oh, yeah.
Flipping heck. Who said 500?
Whoa.
Nice one. Well done. £495.
But you do get a presentation box.
You do get a nice box, absolutely. That means if you only look at socks, there is someone in the marketplace willing to pay 5,265 times the price of the least expensive offering. Is anyone feeling better about their business at the moment?
I'm going to start selling socks.
Anyone got a pair of those stuff.
It's awareness. It's awareness and it's commitment. Once you're aware of this 80-20 curve and what riches lie at one end of it, and when you stop thinking in averages, you can then commit to where you want to be on this curve. To bring yourself down the curve, to end up selling 47 pence, 5 pairs of socks, you need fear. It's scarcity. You need to think there isn't enough out there in the world. You need to think, if people give me money, there's less money in the world and they haven't got any money. Don't worry, they'll replace it. It's fine. Lowering your prices, bring you down the curve. If you become a commodity, if you fail to stand out in your marketplace, you'll be pushing yourself down the curve. And also, you will burn out. Because you have to make a hell of a lot of socks at that price to make enough money to live on. How do you get yourself up the curve? Be creative. Think of new ways to stand out. Think of ways to, really get into your marketplace, get into the mind of your buyers. Abundance, recognizing that the money is out there, because it certainly is. Value, giving massive value to your clients. Some people, when the business is in trouble, they go cost cutting. They go, oh no, how can we do things cheaper? Turn that around. How can we bring more value to our clients? How can we serve better? Niche. Who was talking about it? Niche. Paul was talking about a niche. Paul's found his niche. How big is your market that you've just found in your niche?
360 billion.
That's not bad, is it? So the niches don't have to be tiny. They can be big niches. And you're the only person operating in it? Round of applause for Paul. Well done. And it just brings you the opportunities. When you start pushing up the curve, you can then find people who want the stuff. You can provide them with the stuff that they want. I normally do a day on this, and so it's really hard to fit into 20 minutes. I'm sorry if I'm rushing through. So 80-20 pricing strategy. Let's look at that quickly. Know your value and your values. So, asking people to turn their lights off is not difficult. Finding people you can save millions and millions of pounds for by telling them to turn their lights off is worth millions of pounds. You deserve a cut of that. Know your values. Why do you show up? Why are you different from everyone else? I worked with an electrician who didn't realise that showing up on time, doing what he said he'd do, charging what he said he'd charge, and sweeping up after himself were all valuable things. We actually all stand on a mountain of value. And if you look around at people, you can see their mountains because they're standing on top of them. If you look down at your feet, all you see is a pile of dirt. So it's worth going out there, go to 5 trusted friends and say, what are my values? What do I do uniquely? Why am I better than everyone else out there? They'll tell you about your mountain of value, and you can start working on that. Find the audience. I work with someone who basically does stuff for kids, shall we say, and makes up these beautiful packs and selling them to kids in homes. And suddenly realised by finding the right audience, which was schools, she was selling effectively exactly the same pack to a school for 100 times the price she was selling to homes. Find the audience who have the money for what you want to do. Find the audience that has the higher value from what you do. Premium upsells. So this is offering the stuff that brings the value to your clients. You saw the 80-20 curve. So start with the basic offering at the bottom end and then offer more and more stuff, going higher and higher up the curve. But you really can have products out there 10 times, 100 times the price that you're currently offering. I work with a chap who does car detailing, and his average spend for clients is about £200, something like that. He starts maybe at 50, average is 200. He got in touch with me the other day. Anyone want to hazard a guess at what he managed to sell a package for to someone?
7,500.
Not that much.
1,200.
It was £2,250. He'd found enough stuff on a single car. They were going to have their windows tinted down, all sorts of stuff done. He outsourced most of the work. But he went in on a basic, I'll give you car for £200, upsold it by over 10 times. So these things are absolutely possible. So, what's the one thing to take away? Because this is risky. If you put your prices up, if you start offering these things, what if all my clients go away? What if, the mind starts chugging away and giving you the horror stories? So the rule is just always be testing. So if you want to put your prices up by 20%, by 50%, test on 10% of your potential clients, or 50%, or wherever your comfort zone lies. If you want to, a great upsell is to give guaranteed turnaround times. So test what kind of upsells you work on. I work with a chef who, worked on his own to start with, then built a team around him. He started offering a higher price to guarantee that he would show up. Started with 7%, and quite a few people took it. Went up to sort of 12%, quite a few people took it, not as many. Went up to 25%, no one takes it. He's super happy, he doesn't want to cook anything. So always test and get to the place where you're comfortable. As I said, it's a really quick intro today. 80-20 is all-encompassing across your whole business. I like to call it the rabbit hole. Once you start becoming aware of this curve, applying it to everything, you will go down that rabbit hole and you will never look at things the same again. But it's all about awareness and commitment. So today I've made you aware, hopefully, of the 80-20 curve and what can be done with it. Now we're looking for commitment from you. Because, oh yeah, it's okay, isn't really a commitment. I'm looking for people to go, I hate that, it's rubbish. I'm looking for people to go, yeah, that's awesome. So I'll just list some options. Load of rubbish. Or, I already know all that. Interesting, not for me, not relevant. Yeah, I might do some of this. Wow, I will do this stuff. And, holy crap, I'm all in. And you might even get as happy as these guys. So we're going to have a show of hands now. And there is no right and wrong answer. I can take it if you all put your hand up on number one, I think. Who's a number one? Awesome. Who's number two? This is good. Number three. It's good. So you can see maybe, number three, I'd like to offer you a free digital copy of my book. So if you give me your business card, if you take one out actually, if you've got a pen, right, 80-20 BB, hand it to me, or just hand it to me and tell me, give you a free digital copy of my book. It's a little conversation starter, it takes no time to read, and you can sort of start getting into 80-20, getting more awareness. Who's number four? Wow, I will do this stuff. Anyone who has their hand up now, I would love to offer a free, real copy of my book, and also 60 minutes of my time. So if you'd like to meet up, we can have a chat about your business, look at how we might get 80-20 implemented into it, go right across it. Who's number five? Hooray! You get free copies of both of my books and 90 minutes of my time.
Wow.
So if you'd like to do that, take out a business card, write your number on the business card, and hand them to me at the end. And it'd be great to sort of just catch up with you guys and help you out in your businesses.